Welcome back. So a special ANC National Executive Committee is meeting over a second day now, and this is to develop a turnaround strategy for struggling municipalities. President Cyril Ramaphosa is calling for a bold and targeted plan to fix service delivery failures. We are now joined by ANC NEC member Mr. Dickson Masemola for more on this. Mr. Masemola, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots for us to talk about, especially when we look at just, how much attention has been given to our municipalities over the past week alone with the water challenges that we've had, for instance, in Johannesburg. But I think before we get into it, how you characterize conversations around how the ANC can confidently turn things around in local government, the quality of engagements that you've seen over the past 2 days, and if you think that the action plan certainly will be able to yield some results on the ground.
Well, let me start by extending my words of greetings to you and as well as all the viewers throughout the country. It is true that the National Executive Committee of the ANC, starting from yesterday until today in the afternoon, we had a special National Executive Committee specifically convened to discuss the state of local government and municipalities in particular throughout the country, so that we can be in a better position to reposition local government and these municipalities to basically meet their constitutional obligations in terms of delivery of services, in terms of leadership, in terms of governance, and of course, management and general relations with communities. The leadership of the ANC, led by His Excellency President Ramaphosa, had a very serious and robust discussions in the past 2 days, analyzing each and every single municipality. In fact, out of the report that was presented before the National Executive Committee, it actually outlined the state of all the 257 municipalities in terms of their status, in terms of their situation, and the extent to which, as an organization where we are governing, we should be in a better position to reboot those institutions so that they can be able to serve the people of this country. We are very much confident and very much certain, given the amount of work and the quality of discussions, robustly so, with a very clear understanding that we owe it to the people of South Africa to give them functional working municipalities that will give them basic services. So I must say briefly that we are very much confident out of the discussions that we have had, and that tomorrow we will be in a better position to give the people of this country a very clear action plan, including a meeting that will be having with all councillors of the ANC from all municipalities across the country. They will be meeting with the National Executive Committee meeting tomorrow. So we're very much confident that the meeting was not just one of those meetings which probably people at times characterize them like that. We're very much serious. We did not lament situations of our municipalities. We're very clear that we need, at this point in time, strategic and as well as tactical agility going forward.
Yeah, I want to hear, though, why. I mean, one of the things that we spoke about with the political analyst earlier, Dr. Levi Mdo, we talked about the timing of this need to put together an action plan and then share it with the ANC councillors that are going to take it back to local government, saying, well, we're doing this because we are months before we get into 2026, which is an election year. Was there never a sense of urgency to put an action plan together for councillors that says, well, this is how you ensure that you tick off these boxes and are able to supply service delivery to all of your residents before things boil over? Was there an action plan before? What are the mechanisms that have been used by the ANC to ensure that there is a reporting back of your councillors on what it is they're doing right and wrong?
Well, the meeting is not convened precisely because of any electoral process related thereto. When councillors got into office in 2021, the ANC made its deployees to sign a pledge. And that pledge was very clear in terms of committing them to a cause of service of national importance, a cause of them providing leadership, but above them all prioritizing all the people of the country in areas where they are deployed as responsible leaders to manage those municipal spaces, of course, those administrative institutions of our municipalities. And to the extent that over time, as the ANC, based on the very clearly defined mechanism of accountability, we do have periodic meetings and engagements. We do have party caucuses that takes place. We do have special regional general councils that takes place. We do have the National Executive Committee, including the NWC, visiting various parts of the country throughout the term of office. And ever since 2021, we've been doing that from time to time to basically assess the engagements of our municipalities. Understandably, as you are aware, that towards the end of this year, we'll also be having the midterm conference, which is called the National General Council. But specifically for this one, we found it very appropriate that at this point in time, as a consolidation and a culmination of many other discussions, including those continuous sharpening of the accountability ecosystem to make sure that deployees of the ANC live up to the party's mandate, up to the party's expectation, but of course in the interest of our people. So we found it very appropriate at this point in time to convene this special National Executive Committee, to dedicate it fully for 2 days, to show the interest, to show the commitment, to show the appreciation of the enormity of the task at hand, notwithstanding the fact that the majority of our municipalities, of course, up to so far, they are struggling, and therefore that point cannot be lamented forever because citizens are not interested to hear whether this municipality or that municipality is not doing its work. And that is the reason why we have met and we are convening these municipalities so that, as the president has said, those who seem not to be well, fired in their imaginations in terms of consciousness and the will and the ability to demonstrate commitment to serve the people of this country at whatever level of responsibilities. The movement, the African National Congress, is more than very ready to take appropriate decisions where it is necessary. And of course, the report which we considered, which was presented before the National Executive Committee, went deeper. It did what we call a deep dive, both in the politics of those institutions or municipalities, in matters of governance, matters of administration, in matters of the general management of the resources of those areas, malfeasance, malversation, and the extent to which corruption seemed to be traveling in some cases, and therefore constituted a brain power and capacity, which culminated into that action plan, which His Excellency will be able to share tomorrow with the rest of the country, but in particular with members of the ANC who are our councillors. So we're very much certain that it is an appropriate time, not linked to elections, but an ongoing political assessment, and of course, to assert the centrality of the National Executive Committee above them all, so that there is no confusion as to where to from here as we advance this cause of national importance, serving the people of this country and nothing else, because the ANC was established first and foremost to serve the people of this country as it actually brought freedom and democracy. So we're at a point where we are just sending a message very clear to all deployees of the ANC, wherever they are, that there's no time to lament, there's no time to play. We've got to advance these processes because the people of this country are very impatient, of course, with some issues that would have happened elsewhere, which we are not very excited about that.
What's the mechanism that you use moving forward to ensure that this happens when you've got the president of the ANC who says that those ANC deployees who do not deliver on services and those that fail must be removed? The words of the ANC president. What is the mechanism that we have in place over the next year, for instance, to ensure that not only do we have a cleaning up of local government, but also visible cleaning up of local governance, that, the people of Ditsobotla, for instance, are able to see that, well, there is no that there is in fact effort being taken by the ANC, not necessarily by government, national, provincial, but by the ANC to say, let's clean up what's happening in Ditsobotla and give them leadership that is able to take the area forward?
Well, specifically in Ditsobotla, the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC took very firm decision there in relation to those deployees who performed or behaved in a substandard manner, inconsistent with the policies and principles, and of course the constitution of the African National Congress. There is that evidence of a commitment to take that decision. In fact, some councillors were suspended, some have been fired, of course, though there are legal principles that are underway of them appealing here and there. But decisively, the movement has been able to demonstrate that. Equally important, we are at the point where going forward, we're going to actually strengthen the monitoring and evaluation mechanism, the framework and the instrument that the National Executive Committee discussed. It's very, very clear that all structures of the ANC, in fact, beyond this meeting with councillors, all structures of the ANC, starting from branches, regions, and as well as provinces, they will be more than very clear to understand how that framework of assessment tool, including even how deployees are going to have to undertake it without any failure, is going to be handled. As you would know that we are managing a very huge political landscape, and therefore all structures of the movement, including even our alliance partners, will have to be, triggered into an action to make sure that in branches where ward councillors are, branches of the ANC, together with regions, including communities and traditional leaders and faith-based organizations, we're going to be working together because it is not going to be a singular assessment of that individual, a councillor or a mayor in a particular space.
Right.
We're going to have to make sure that largely this assessment tool is rooted within communities so that they must understand that they are there to serve our people and not necessarily to satisfy a certain groupings of interest. So that's what the National Executive Committee is up to going forward, and tomorrow more details will be unveiled as we move forward.
All right, and then of course tomorrow the ANC set to gather with 6,000 ANC councillors as they of course deliver to them that action plan to help them clean up local government. That's Mr. Dickson Masemola, the ANC NEC member.